The night rain fell like cold needles against the dusty windows of the old bus as it crawled down the lonely highway. Daniel sat in the back seat, headphones in, head against the vibrating glass, eyes lost in thoughts that refused to leave him alone. He didn't know it yet, but everything in his life was about to shift. Everything he thought was delay, stagnation, or bad luck was about to be traced back to one person, one hidden weight he had been carrying for years. But like every story where destiny is threatened, the truth rarely arrives gently. Sometimes it breaks in like lightning in a storm. Daniel had always been gifted. Brilliant, steady, deeply spiritual. But life had a strange way of keeping him just one step behind success. Jobs slipped through his hands. Opportunities came but never matured. Blessings started but never landed. It was as though an invisible hand constantly pushed him back every time he tried to rise. He prayed, he fasted, he believed. Yet the same cycles repeated themselves like a curse with no explanation. People around him rose, but Daniel waited, and waited, and waited still. One day, frustrated beyond measure, Daniel confided in an elderly pastor known for unusual wisdom. The man was quiet, slow-speaking, and dangerously observant. After listening to Daniel pour out years of pain, he didn't respond with comfort or motivational advice. Instead, he leaned forward, eyes sharp, and said words that chilled Daniel's bones. Not every battle is lost because you are weak. Some battles are lost because someone close to you is breaking the covenant without your knowledge. Sometimes, the person holding your destiny back is the one sitting right beside you. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? In the scripture, the pastor continued, Israel lost a battle they were supposed to win easily, not because the army was weak, not because Joshua lost his touch, but because one man, just one, hid something that invited defeat to the entire camp. His name was Achan. The old man's voice grew softer. As long as Achan remained hidden, Israel remained stuck. Daniel swallowed hard. He had heard the story before, but never like this. Never as a mirror. It felt as if the pastor had reached into his soul and touched something he wasn't ready to confront. The pastor reached for his walking stick. You must pray for revelation, Daniel. Ask God to expose the Achan in your camp. Ask him to reveal the person holding your destiny hostage. Because until the wrong person is removed, the right doors will not open. Those words followed Daniel home like a ghost. That night, Daniel prayed with a desperation he had never felt before. His room felt unusually heavy, as though something in the unseen world was shifting, resisting exposure. For the first time, Daniel felt the weight of spiritual conflict pressing on his chest. Hours passed. Midnight stretched into early morning. And then, like a fog lifting from a hidden valley, something became clear. Painfully, shockingly clear. A name, a face, a memory. A betrayal he had ignored. It was his closest friend, Samuel. The realization hit him like a blow. Samuel, his childhood friend, his confidant, his closest brother, the one he trusted with his secrets, the one he supported, the one he helped over and over again, the one he defended to everyone. But behind Daniel's back, Samuel had been poisoning the ground Daniel walked on, speaking against him, sabotaging connections, misrepresenting him to people, and most painfully, praying against him out of jealousy and insecurity. Daniel began connecting the dots, messages that never reached him, job recommendations that disappeared, a relationship that crumbled because of a whisper. Samuel dropped like poison into the right ears. Every setback suddenly had a shadow attached to it, and Samuel was standing at the center of that shadow. Just like Achan's hidden sin caused the entire nation to fall in battle, Samuel's hidden jealousy had quietly delayed Daniel's rising. One man, one unseen act, one private betrayal, and Daniel had been carrying the consequences. For days, Daniel wrestled with the truth. He wanted to confront Samuel, but something in his spirit said no. Not yet. Sometimes confrontation is not the victory. Discernment is. Sometimes God reveals the enemy not for you to attack, but for you to detach. So Daniel stayed silent. He observed, and the more he watched, the more he saw the truth unfold in small, undeniable ways. Samuel's eyes always dimmed at Daniel's success. His laughter always carried a sharpness Daniel had ignored. His advice always subtly redirected Daniel away from his path. It became clear Samuel didn't want Daniel to fail. He just didn't want Daniel to rise above him. One night, Daniel sat alone in his room and whispered a prayer that felt like a sword, leaving its sheath. Lord, separate me from every person who is holding my destiny back. Anyone who smiles but fights me in hiding, remove them. The room suddenly felt lighter. Peace settled over him like a warm blanket pulled over a shivering soul. Days later, Samuel picked a fight over a small issue and cut Daniel off. No explanation, no apology, just gone. What Daniel didn't know was that God was answering his prayer. Removal often looks like betrayal before it looks like deliverance. Separation often feels painful before it becomes peaceful. And then, the shift began, slowly at first. Then, suddenly, a job Daniel had waited for over a year suddenly reopened. A mentor he thought forgot him called with a big opportunity. An application that had been stuck in silence received approval. A door he thought was closed forever swung open. The delay broke. The stagnation lifted. The pattern reversed. It was as though heaven kept records and finally erased what had been blocking the path. And Daniel finally understood. Sometimes God does not change your life until He changes your circle. Sometimes the person holding your destiny back is the one clapping the loudest in your presence but weakening your foundation in your absence. Sometimes the weight you're carrying isn't a demon, a curse, or bad luck. It's a person you trust, a person you confide in, a person sitting close enough to hear your dreams, yet insecure enough to sabotage them. In the story of Achan, Israel could not win until Achan was removed. In Daniel's story, breakthrough didn't come until Samuel stepped out. Different times, different characters, same principle. Destiny is too precious to be tied to the wrong heart. Elevation is too fragile to be surrounded by insecurity. And sometimes the greatest blessing God will ever give you is not a miracle. Not money, not an opportunity, but separation. Because the wrong person can delay what God prepared for you. But once they are gone, nothing can hold you back. Daniel rose one morning to a sunrise he had never seen before. Not because the sun was different, but because he was. He was lighter, clearer, unstuck. And as he walked into his new season, he whispered a truth that became the anchor of his destiny. Lord, thank you for removing the one person who was holding my destiny back. And heaven, silent but watching, bore witness, because the chains had finally broken. The battle had finally turned, and destiny, long delayed, finally arrived.